Have you ever felt something was off in your relationship but couldn't quite put your finger on it? Well, you're not alone. Studies show that 85% of men don't even realize when they're being cheated on. But the truth is, there are subtle signs, things women say when they're being unfaithful. In today's video, we're diving into female psychology and revealing the first phrases women use when they're cheating. Welcome to today's video, where we uncover the hidden clues that might be flying under your radar. Infidelity is a painful topic, but by understanding these subtle indicators, you can protect yourself from emotional turmoil. Women tend to be more discreet when they cheat, and they often use words to cover their tracks. By the end of this video, you'll be equipped with the knowledge to spot red flags in your relationship before it's too late. So, if you want to decode the hidden language of cheating, keep watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's get into it. 1. Most men don't see it coming. 85 stat. It's shocking, but 85% of men fail to identify when they are being cheated on. Why? The answer lies in the subtlety with which women tend to conceal infidelity. While men might leave obvious clues, like spending late nights out, becoming distant, or changing their routines, women often use more intricate methods to cover their tracks. Women, by nature, are typically more emotionally intuitive and skilled at managing relationships, which makes their actions harder to detect. In many cases, women mask their behavior behind well-thought-out excuses or phrases that seem emotionally reasonable. For example, a woman might express a sudden need for personal space or talk about finding herself in ways that are hard to argue against. These phrases can make a man feel guilty for questioning her behavior, creating a smokescreen that prevents him from seeing the real issue. Women are often adept at blending these excuses into their daily lives, making it difficult for their partners to pick up on signs of infidelity. Additionally, female psychology reveals that women tend to cheat for different reasons than men. Whereas men might cheat due to physical attraction or opportunity, women are more likely to cheat when they feel emotionally disconnected in a relationship. This emotional factor can make their infidelity even more complex to detect, as the signs might not be as obvious as a sudden disappearance or change in routine. Instead, subtle emotional shifts occur. Her conversations become more guarded, or she might start showing disinterest in the relationship while being overly attentive in other areas, keeping her partner off balance. The key to detecting such subtle signs is understanding the deeper aspects of female psychology by becoming more attuned to emotional changes, paying attention to inconsistencies in behavior, and being aware of how women often communicate through subtext. Men can better navigate the complexities of relationships and potentially avoid the blindsiding experience of being cheated on without knowing. 2. Women are more subtle in their infidelity. Unlike men, who may lean towards physical infidelity first, women often form emotional connections before cheating. This emotional bond usually begins with seemingly innocent conversations that gradually deepen. Small talk, work-related discussions, or sharing personal experiences can create an emotional attachment that builds over time. And that attachment is where things start to shift. What begins as harmless interaction might grow into emotional infidelity, often going unnoticed by both parties until it's too late. But how can you spot these subtle changes? Well, the words people use can reveal a lot. Women in particular may unintentionally reveal their emotional straying through certain phrases. These aren't just random comments. They are windows into shifting emotional allegiances. When emotional boundaries blur, conversations become coded, and that's where the clues lie. Let's dive into 6 common phrases women might use when they're emotionally involved with someone else. 1. He's just a friend. This phrase can be a red flag when mentioned repeatedly. It's meant to downplay the relationship, but when spoken often, it suggests that the friendship is more than just casual. 2. You wouldn't understand. If a woman is emotionally distancing herself, she might start to frame her partner as less capable of understanding her. This can signal that she's seeking emotional validation elsewhere. 3. You don't make me feel the way I used to. A sign of emotional detachment. This phrase often signals that she's finding fulfillment or excitement outside the relationship. 4. I'm going out with friends. But details are vague. If plans start becoming ambiguous, it could mean she's spending time with someone she doesn't want you to know about. 5. I need space. When emotional bonds shift, the desire for space often grows. This could mean she's investing that energy in someone new. 6. I don't want to talk about it. Refusing to discuss issues or shutting down conversations could indicate she's processing her feelings with someone else instead of her partner. These phrases aren't always definitive proof of infidelity, but can serve as emotional indicators of a potential deeper connection forming elsewhere. Understanding these signs can help you stay vigilant and maintain honest communication in your relationship. 3. 6 phrases women say when they are cheating. Phrase 1. So-and-so understands what I'm going through so well. When your partner begins talking about someone who just understands her better than anyone else, it's more than just an offhand comment. It could be a significant red flag. Emotional infidelity often lays the foundation for physical cheating, and this kind of phrase hints that she may be forming an emotional bond outside of your relationship. Let's break this down. In a healthy relationship, emotional intimacy between partners is key. Both individuals should feel understood, appreciated, and supported by each other. When a partner suddenly turns to someone else for emotional validation, it can indicate that the emotional foundation within the relationship is weakening. Emotional cheating doesn't always start with grand gestures. It often begins subtly through innocent conversations or shared experiences. Over time, these interactions can evolve into deeper emotional connections, which may lead to a breakdown in your own bond. Take the example of her mentioning a co-worker who just gets her. At first glance, it seems harmless, like a simple friendship. But emotional affairs often begin in these casual, friendly settings. She may start confiding in him about her day, her feelings, or even things she doesn't discuss with you. This can create an emotional divide, making the relationship vulnerable. The danger is that emotional cheating is often more damaging than physical affairs because it's built on feelings of closeness, trust, and understanding. All the things that should be at the core of your relationship. Emotional cheating can be harder to detect and confront because it doesn't involve physical betrayal right away. However, if your partner feels emotionally fulfilled by someone else, it can lead to a loss of connection in your own relationship. If you notice this pattern, it's important to address it with open communication. Ask her how she's feeling about your relationship and whether there's something you both can work on to strengthen your emotional connection before it's too late. Phrase 2. Don't worry, I'm just going out with some friends. When a woman frequently tells you she's going out with friends, this phrase might seem harmless at first. After all, socializing is normal in any relationship. But if you notice a sudden uptick in how often she says it, or if her outings start to feel out of the ordinary, it's time to pay closer attention. One key factor is changes in her behavior or routine. If she used to be open about her plans but now becomes secretive or vague, that could be a red flag. Perhaps she no longer shares details about who she's meeting, where she's going, or what time she'll be back. While it's important to respect personal space in relationships, abrupt shifts like this, especially when combined with a lot of solo time out, shouldn't be ignored. Secretiveness often goes hand in hand with hiding something more significant. Another thing to consider is if she's going out more frequently, but never invites you along. In a healthy relationship, partners enjoy spending time with each other's friends from time to time. If she repeatedly excludes you from these gatherings, it could indicate she's intentionally creating a divide between her social life and your relationship. This exclusion can make you feel like an outsider looking in and raises the question, why doesn't she want you there? Finally, take note of whether these outings are accompanied by other behavioral shifts. Like being overly defensive when you ask simple questions, constantly glued to her phone, or changing her appearance and habits without an explanation. While none of these signs alone may be conclusive, when they add up, it's time to have an honest conversation. Ultimately, trust is the foundation of any strong relationship, and while you don't want to jump to conclusions, these subtle signals can sometimes be the warning signs you need to address underlying issues. Phrase 3. I need more space for myself. Needing space in a relationship is completely normal, especially when individuals are focused on personal growth, career development, or self-reflection. Everyone has moments when they need solitude to recharge. However, if this request comes out of nowhere and becomes a recurring theme, especially when your relationship was previously stable, it could be a subtle red flag. When someone suddenly starts asking for space more frequently, particularly when no major life changes are happening, it's worth considering whether this is about more than just self-discovery. Relationships thrive on balance, where each partner has their own personal time but remains emotionally and physically connected. A sudden, drastic shift in how much time your partner wants to spend away from you can disrupt that balance and might indicate they are distancing themselves emotionally. A key aspect to watch for is the pattern. If she's consistently asking for more alone time or making plans that exclude you, when before this wasn't the norm, it's possible that something else or someone else has entered the picture. While it's important to give your partner space and respect their need for independence, an unexplained or sudden shift could be a sign of waning interest or exploration of other options. In some cases, when someone pulls away, it's because they're emotionally preparing themselves for a possible transition, whether that's leaving the relationship or seeing where things go with someone else. That being said, not every request for space is a sign of something negative. It's crucial to communicate openly and ask questions, but also listen carefully to what's being said and what isn't. Trust your instincts, but don't jump to conclusions without having a real conversation. People sometimes need room to breathe, but if the request for space feels like a growing chasm, it's important to address the issue before assumptions turn into reality. Phrase 4. I'm working late tonight. One of the oldest tricks in the book is using work as an excuse, but it's still surprisingly effective. Many people, unfortunately, have become experts at masking their real intentions behind the facade of a busy professional life. If she's frequently claiming work is keeping her late or has her out of reach, it may be time to ask yourself, is she really working, or is there something more going on? Here's the thing. Most jobs have a relatively predictable routine. If she suddenly starts having extended absences, especially without much explanation, or if her work schedule begins shifting unpredictably, this could be a red flag. And let's be honest, not every career calls for late-night shifts or last-minute out-of-town meetings. While it's important to trust and respect each other's personal time, it's equally important to be aware of significant changes in patterns. One key indicator is her availability. If she's suddenly unreachable during these so-called late nights at the office, despite being glued to a phone at other times, it's worth considering whether she's truly busy with work or with someone else. When someone's behavior shifts dramatically, particularly with something as routine as a work schedule, it can signify something beyond just job demands. There's also the classic sudden increase in workload excuse. If she's suddenly getting loaded with projects after years of maintaining a balanced work-life routine, it's crucial to look at how her stress levels match up. Is she genuinely stressed about work? Or is there a sense of avoidance when you ask about her day? Of course, the goal here isn't to create unnecessary suspicion in relationships, but rather to notice patterns of inconsistency. Relationships thrive on honesty and communication, and if her work is consistently taking precedence in a way that feels off, it's time for a conversation. After all, transparency should be a cornerstone of any healthy partnership. Phrase 5. I think we need some time apart. When a woman asks for a break in a relationship, it can be a warning sign for deeper issues. While not every request for space means infidelity, it's important to recognize that for some, this break is a strategic move to test the waters with someone else while keeping their primary relationship on standby. Consider this. The idea of a break is often framed as a need for self-reflection or personal growth. However, in many cases, it's a gray area that allows for boundaries to blur. When a woman suddenly suggests hitting pause, you're left in a vulnerable position. The ambiguity of what constitutes a break can leave one partner feeling confused while the other takes advantage of the undefined space to explore new romantic interests. In the worst-case scenario, she could be trying to have her cake and eat it too, seeing if another relationship might be a better fit while keeping you as a backup option. Research indicates that emotional and physical infidelity often begins when a relationship loses its connection and transparency. Asking for a break can sometimes be a way to avoid confronting the problems in the relationship head-on. It's easier for some people to distance themselves rather than work through conflicts, and during this separation, new opportunities for emotional or physical intimacy with others can arise. Imagine you agree to the break, believing it's for a mutual benefit. Later, you find out she's been actively dating someone else during this time. The sense of betrayal would be intense, especially if you were using the break to genuinely reflect on the relationship. The takeaway here is clear. Communication and honesty are key. If the idea of a break comes up, it's essential to set clear boundaries about what that means for both parties. Without clarity, the break could easily transform into an opportunity for someone to engage in behavior that undermines the trust and commitment in the relationship. Phrase 6. You deserve someone better than me. When a woman says something like, "I feel guilty," it may seem like a heartfelt confession at first glance. However, beneath the surface, this phrase often masks deeper, more complex emotions, especially feelings of betrayal. Guilt can be a powerful force. But what's even more telling is the motivation behind it. Sometimes it's not so much about remorse as it is about trying to ease the conscience after crossing a boundary. This might signal that she's grappling with something more significant than she's willing to admit. People often use guilt as a form of self-preservation, a way to protect their own self-image while avoiding uncomfortable truths. For instance, in relationships, when a woman says she feels guilty, it could mean that she's already crossed an emotional or physical boundary, but isn't ready to face the full consequences of her actions. This guilt serves as a halfway house between denial and accountability. In her mind, confessing to guilt without going into detail might relieve some of the internal conflict without requiring full transparency. What makes this line even more striking is that it can come out of nowhere. You might be in the middle of a perfectly normal conversation, and suddenly this statement drops like a bombshell. This randomness can be unsettling, and it often leaves the other person wondering what's really going on. The truth is, this expression of guilt can be a veiled hint that something has already happened. Something she's not ready to admit to herself, let alone to you. In essence, this phrase is a psychological buffer. It buys her time, keeping you in the dark while she wrestles with her own conscience. Understanding this deeper dynamic can help you read between the lines, recognizing that guilt isn't always a sign of remorse. It can be a subtle way of covering up deeper feelings of betrayal. Men, if you've heard any of these phrases from your partner recently, it's time to take a closer look at your relationship. It doesn't always mean she's cheating, but these phrases can be the first signs of trouble. By staying alert, you can confront the issue early and potentially save your relationship from further damage. Remember, trust your instincts and don't ignore the subtle changes in your partner's behavior. Before we wrap up, cheating is never easy to deal with, but by paying attention to the words your partner uses, you can catch the signs early. Keep your ears open for these key phrases, and don't be afraid to have an honest conversation if you feel something's off. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insights into female psychology and relationship advice. Stay aware, and we'll see you in the next video.